What's going on, everyone? Welcome into the live stream. We got week 4 ahead of us, Sunday night football for the Green Bay Packers, and hopefully a massive bounce back game for this Green Bay Packers team that put out a stinker against the Cleveland Browns last weekend. So injury report so far isn't looking too great. I see a couple people already commenting about it. Ian said Belton out, so thin at tackle. Is there Belton news? I didn't see it yet. Let me look on my screen real quick. I don't think it's long term, but he will not be playing this week. Okay, I just saw it. So yeah, Anthony Belton will be out this week. That's interesting. Obviously, with Zach Tom out, it's going to come down to whether you think it should be Jordan Morgan at right tackle or Darian Kennard. I would be in favor of Darian Kennard at right tackle. Also, considering Aaron Banks is on the injury report, you want Jordan Morgan to be able to plug in at left guard if needed. If Banks is out there, he could drop out with injury again like he did last week. If Banks doesn't play, obviously we need Jordan Morgan to play left guard, which I think he'll be better at than he would be at right tackle. I didn't like him at right tackle last week. I thought that was a little weird that the Packers kind of just threw him out there, really stretching him thin between a lot of positions. So, yeah, Belton out is unfortunate, but, even with the offensive line shaken up with injuries, I still think we're going to have success. This Cowboys front is a very, very weak front in terms of defense. Like, they don't get much pressure. They don't get much sacks. The Cowboys are 25th in the league in pressure rate, 27.1% pressure rate. They are 27th in sack rate, 3.7%. Actually, let me bring up the screen for you guys. Let me just bring up the screen and I can show you real quick. Game preview. There we go. Okay, so here's some of the advanced defensive stats through 3 weeks. Cowboys, as you could see here, 25th in pressure rate. Pressure to sack rate, 27th. Sack rate, 27th. Blitz rate, 27th. Non-blitz pressure rate, 26th. And pass rush win rate, 25. If you compare it to the Packers, you see their pressure rate, they're third. Pressure to sack rate, 19. Sack rate, 10. Blitz rate, they don't blitz much, but they gain so much pressure with no blitzing. It's either fifth, 42.7% pressure without blitzing, 39% pass rush win rate. So you could see how, the Packers are able to get pressure, whereas the Cowboys really, really don't. Let me move over tabs here for you guys. So yeah, we're going to be doing our game preview, Packers versus Cowboys. Excited for this one. Obviously, going down to Dallas is usually pretty favorable for the Green Bay Packers. They're 2-1 entering this game, coming off a poor performance. It's a bad game. We can all agree. That game was terrible, at least for the offense. Defense is fine, but for the offense, special teams is terrible. But it's about how you respond. It's about how you bounce back. We're still only in week 4. There's a lot of football to be played ahead of us. So it's going to be important to respond in this game against the Dallas defense. If you just saw what the Bears did to Dallas, the Packers should do, way better than the Bears did. Credit to the Bears for sticking out that win there, but the Packers offense is better than the Bears offense. I don't think there's any arguing that. So they should be able to score more than 31 on them. The Bears won 31-14, and Caleb Williams looked like a superstar. 19 of 28, 298 yards, 4 touchdowns. The Packers should be able to roll against this Cowboys defense. They 100% should. Actually, just looking at it, total defense, in terms of total yards allowed, Cowboys are 29th. So 397.7 yards allowed per game. Passing yards, let's go to yards. They are almost dead last. The Cardinals got ahead of them last night because obviously they played a game and no other team has. So the Cowboys, in all intents and purposes, are last. They were before last night's game. Obviously, the Cardinals playing 4 games, game more than everyone else outside of the Seahawks. So 864 yards per game, or yards allowed, 288. You can see the average there. 288, I think, is the worst. So Jordan Love, should have no problem throwing the football against this defense. In terms of rushing, the Cowboys are, I think, middle of the pack. Don't know exactly what number this is. I wish they had numbers still left of them. But about middle of the pack. They've allowed 329 rushing yards, but still 109.7 average per game. Not the best. And in terms of points, the Cowboys are, 32, 31, 30, 29, 28, 27. 27th. They've allowed 92 points, 30.7 per game. If the Packers struggle on offense in this game, then we could start maybe ringing the alarm bells a little bit. Okay, what is going on, right? I think that's fair to say if they struggle in offense on this game. All right, so let's dive into the PFF game preview page. If you're new here, stopping by, first off, welcome into the channel. Appreciate you stopping by. We do game previews here every single Friday at 12:30 Eastern. So on your way in, if you could hit the like button, it supports the channel a ton. And throughout the remainder of this stream, if you do enjoy it, definitely consider hitting the subscribe button down below. Really appreciate all the support, guys. Thank you so much. All right. So this is team metrics based on PFF grades. It's not any rankings based off of stats other than the PFF grades, and here they are. Packers are the 4th overall PFF team. The Cowboys are the 22nd. Defense, the Packers are the 3rd. The Cowboys are the 31st. Offense, the Packers are the 12th. The Cowboys are the 14th. In terms of strength of schedule, the Packers have played the 12th hardest. The Cowboys have played the 17th hardest. Now, taking a look at both offenses, how they operate, run compared to run to pass. The Packers are an extremely run-heavy team. They run so far through 3 weeks, they've ran the ball 47.3% of the time, and the subsequent 52.7% pass plays. The Cowboys are a pass-heavy offense. Now, they have Javonte Williams, and he's kind of having a career resurgence here, but we know outside of last week, the Packers have done pretty damn well at stopping the run. I don't think they'll have too much of an issue, especially with, I think Tyler Booker is going to be out of this game for the Cowboys. Or is it Tyler Smith or Tyler Booker? I forget which one it is. I think it's Tyler Booker on their injury report. Let me look real quick. It is Tyler Booker. I actually had the pleasure of talking with his dad during draft week, and really liked Booker out of this class. I think I don't know how he's been doing so far, but he's not going to be ready to go in this game. And then, of course, CeeDee Lamb as well. But, the Cowboys pass the ball a lot more. 68.2% pass play, 31.8% run play. So the Cowboys pass the ball a lot. We know we want that, right? Like, the Packers get a ton of pressure. What did Jerry Jones just say? Durant says, yeah, I think I have that saved. Oops. No. There we go. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones on 105.3 The Fan on Facing Micah Parsons Sunday. While he does make great plays, there's also a way to approach against Micah. As we know, we didn't exactly win the Super Bowl those years. Dude, I would be so angry if Jerry Jones was my favorite team's owner. Like, I feel like the Cowboys will never succeed until he's gone. Like, he's not the owner anymore. Like, there's no way. Or that whole family, it trickles down. There's no way. Like, the sooner he gets out of town, the sooner the Cowboys will find success. That's all I'm going to say. Like, why even talk about it, dude? You traded him away. Now all of a sudden he's not a good player. Okay, gotcha. Absolutely insane. In terms of the spread, if you're interested, Packers are minus 6.5 points. It's also on the road, but is it really? It's kind of like a home game if we're thinking about it in Dallas. But they're minus 6.5. 88% of the money is on Green Bay. It doesn't mean much. I think it was over 90% of the money was on Green Bay last week, and we saw what happened. 88% of the money is on Green Bay. 67% of the bets are favoring Green Bay. So the over-under's at 47.5. Dallas money line plus 273. So, yeah. All right, let's move into the quarterback comparisons, because the one thing that, I have liked about Dallas Cowboys this year is the play of Dak Prescott. I think he's having a good start to the season. And a lot of people are, maybe underrating him a little bit. I feel like he's playing well. He has a very high PFF grade of 90.2. His passer rating when clean, not the best, 96.0, and passer rating under pressure. Again, this is going to remain the case every single week. Every single time we talk about an opponent coming up, most of the time, 99% of the time, their passer rating when under pressure is not going to be good, or it's going to be a lot lower than their passer rating clean. So obviously, the Packers need to continue to get pressure. They already get a shitload of pressure, so that's great. If we can pressure Dak Prescott, get him on the ground a couple times, that bodes very well for us winning this football game. Big time throw percentage, he's very high, 7.53%, but they will be without CeeDee Lamb. That's definitely going to play a factor into this. Turnover worthy play percentage, Dak's pretty low here, 2.74%. Sort of Snow says, hey Bass, how are you? Hey, what's up, man? Appreciate you stopping by. Thank you for coming in. It doesn't look like Kenny Clark has helped much either. I will say Kenny, I think, is having a fine year in Dallas. I'll look at the stats after this. We'll look at it. We'll take a look at it. But I'm pretty sure he might actually be leading their defense in sacks. I correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, that's not hard to do considering their defensive line is not good at all. But, you know, I want Kenny to succeed. I don't want him to succeed in this game. That's for damn sure. So the Cowboys, you know, we see their season so far. Kept it close with the Eagles, lost by 4. Overtime with the Giants against Russell Wilson is crazy, but was a crazy game. And then lost the Bears 31-14. So, you know, the Packers, they should have no problem with this game. They should have no problem with this game. So Turtles, what's up, man? He says, hope Dak gives us another pick. Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully. We only have, 2 on the year? Sort of Snow says, finally get to watch a full game. You don't have work? Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, Sunday Night Football. I love Sunday Night Football, but at the same time, I'm always working after the game until 1 to 2 a.m. and it's a long night. So hopefully it's a win and it'll be a fun long night and not a terrible one like last week. But yeah, quickly just to go over the injury report. We're waiting on the final one. That'll be out in about 3 hours. So be on the lookout for that video on my channel. It'll list all the game designations, see how long this injury report is. But, you know, the Packers, they always list every little minuscule injury on their report. They always do this. Half of these, more than half of these, 3/4 of these players are going to be fine to play, and it's not going to be a problem. Like Carl Brooks will play. Javon Bullard, maybe. He got limited yesterday with the concussion, so that's good. Fitzpatrick, Hobbs, Jacobs, Kraft, Love, Melton, Parsons, Rashid, Wyatt, all these guys will play. Really the only concern, Zach Tom will be out of this game. Anthony Belton will be out of this game. And I think Aaron Brooks will end up playing. We'll see. Jacob says, I thought Micah was off the report last week. He was. But I did see him during the game riding the stationary bike against the Browns. So maybe it's just, one of those things that they'll just keep him on the injury report. It's weird that I agree. It's weird that they took him off last week. I feel like the Packers, don't frequently take people off the injury report if they don't have to. So it's kind of weird that he was off of it last week, but he's back on it now. But he'll be fine. Obviously, his snap share has been going up and up and up. As for the Cowboys, Deron Bland will be able to go. Booker will be out. Trayvon Diggs probably will be able to go. He upgraded to a full on Thursday, and CeeDee Lamb will be out of this game. So 2, starters there with Booker and Lamb on the offense will be out of this game. That's definitely, something huge for this matchup. All right, let's get into the lineups. Actually, before we do so, let's go over the picks I have for this game for Sleeper. So let's go over the Sleeper picks real quick. Guys, I have it pinned in the chat. If you want to check out Sleeper, tail my bet or fade it. Fade will probably be better for you guys, but I did hit a couple so far. There's none with the Packers game yet. I'm hoping I'm correct here. But use code BASS when making a first-time deposit. Get that match 100% up to $100. Here's my picks. Let me know what you guys think. I have Micah Parsons more than a half a sack. Like, if Parsons doesn't get a sack in this game, then I don't know what to think. The Cowboys might triple team him. That's the only thing here that I'm like, ooh. They might actually triple team him in this game. It's going to be so important for Jerry Jones for Parsons not to get a sack. They probably will. Jerry Jones would be happier with Micah Parsons not getting a sack than winning the damn football game. I honestly believe that. So that's the only concern I have here. I have Matthew Golden over or more than 3.5 receptions. I really liked what I saw from him last week. They involved him early. Then obviously that 9 route that he kind of ran out of bounds on. The Packers are going to continue to put the ball in his hands, and his snap share, his routes ran percentage has gone way up. It's up to 83% with Jaden Reed now out. Run more 12 personnel with Golden out there. I also have less than 235.5 passing yards for Dak Prescott. Although the Cowboys, I think, will be down in this game at certain points and will want to pass the ball, and they're a very pass-heavy team, I have full faith in the defense and getting pressure on Dak and forcing incompletions. Our cornerbacks have been playing well, and 235.5 is a lot of yardage. And I also have more than 75.5 rushing yards for Josh Jacobs. I think this is the game we finally get a Josh Jacobs game, right? He's had to get most of his yards after contact because the O-line hasn't really blocked well for him. It just hasn't really gotten going, and I think the game it will get going is against the Dallas Cowboys. So those are my picks. The $5 play to win a potential $55.75. If you guys want to check out Sleeper, link down in the description. It's also pinned in the chat. Wonderful fantasy football app, but not only that, you can make your picks and you can make a collection of picks from all the upcoming games here in week 4. All right, so rotating back to this game preview, let's just start where it's at. Packers defense and the Cowboys offense. We'll start with the Cowboys offense, and oh my gosh, this offensive line. I mean, they got me at right guard. They don't look like me, but it's Bass. We got Bass at right guard. Good luck. Is that their starter with Booker out? Like, I don't even know who that is, if I'm being completely honest. Yeah, okay. They got Hoffman at center, Brock Hoffman. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be completely honest. I have no idea who these two are. I don't know who those two are. I've never heard of this guy ever. Maybe I'm a Cowboys casual, but okay. Okay. Yeah. I just want to, he's taken one snap in line. It's like a goal line play. I need to no, not that. Can I go here? TJ Bass. He's played one offensive snap. Oh no. What about 2024? One offensive snap. Okay. Yeah, so we should be able to win on our defensive line. Not that we weren't going to anyways, but, Terrence Steele is a solid tackle. Not the best grade, but he's a solid tackle. We know Tyler Guyton because I remember the Packers, potentially, he was a potential draft pick for them back in 2024. He went 29th to the Cowboys that year, where we got Jordan Morgan, 25th or 28th right before him? I forget if it was right before him or not. But pass block grade has been abysmal. 65th out of 68. I actually want to see his page real quick. Tyler Guyton has played 224 snaps. He's allowed a sack and 13 pressures. That's where Micah Parsons lines up. So, yeah, that should be fine. Tyler Smith, he's a lot better than this grade shows. I'm sure playing next to some of these guys, his job's a lot harder. Tyler Smith is a fine lineman. I think they just re-signed him too. First round pick from 2022, 56.0 grade. Dak, we talked about already. He's the second highest PFF grade. And then Javonte, kind of having a career resurgence. How many yards? He has a decent amount of yards. I think I have him in my dynasty league. He's doing pretty well. Let me see. Player stats. I'm just going on my phone real quick. SHM says this game will be won in the trenches. And if that is the case, I have full confidence in the Green Bay Packers, winning. Yeah, Javonte, had a 54-yard game against the Eagles, 97 yards against the Giants, and 67 yards against Chicago. So he's having a pretty solid season. But the Packers run D, shut down Gibbs and Montgomery, shut down the Commanders with Jaden. Had a little bit of struggle last week against Judkins, but I think they'll be a lot better this week. They also got Ferguson at tight end. I think he's coming off a pretty high game last week. Solid tight end, and the one thing that we have struggled against is tight ends. And you can live by that so long your defense is doing their job, which they did last week. Really, the defense didn't, other than the long running drive by Judkins, the drive where he had 2 big runs, the Browns offense didn't do shit. Let's be honest. Chris Curtis, appreciate the donation, said Parsons is going to make a statement. He better, because all this crap talk that Jerry Jones is saying and just blabbering on about Micah Parsons, you could tell he's scared. And Micah Parsons should make you scared. And I think we need a full-on breakout Parsons game, 2.5 sacks, 8 pressures, right? He's just a monster. That would be, he wants it. And I think the Packers are going to give him every opportunity. I think he's going to see 80% of snaps, and he should. So Ferguson, something, we got to keep an eye on. But as for the receivers, you're really a couple guys you got to keep an eye on. George Pickens, obviously. I'm excited to see Pickens versus Nixon. I think that's going to be a show. I think both those guys are physical. They're ball players. They have a lot of, they have that dog mentality. I'm excited to see Pickens against Nixon, even Valentine and Hobbs. Like all our guys kind of hold that mentality. So it's like then you have Turpin. Kevontae Turpin is a speedster. You gotta know where he's at in terms of taking the top off of defense. Gotta have a safety if they're running some shot plays to Turpin. Dak does like to take shots, so Turpin is his guy for that. And the other side, Jalen Tolbert. I'm surprised he's still playing. I remember him coming out of South Alabama in that 2022 draft, and I wasn't too high on him, but he's still playing here in the big 2025. So gonna have to step up in CeeDee Lamb's absence. Obviously, it's gonna be hard to replicate that, but that's their receivers. Now for the Packers defense. So we have Nixon and Hobbs on the outside. Nixon, the 7th ranked corner out of 99. We see coverage grade 5th out of 99. And then Hobbs on the other side. He's been playing really well. Hobbs has been playing mainly wide cornerback. You see here 64 snaps, 11 in the slot. With Bullard potentially out, I think he'll end up playing. But if Bullard is out, maybe we'll see more Hobbs in the slot and Valentine on. That's what I assume will happen. So just to keep an eye, if Bullard is out, Hobbs will probably play a lot more slot or nickel in this game. He's a 28th out of 99 corners, 31st out of 99 in coverage. And let's actually, we'll look at linebackers before we go to nickel. Quay Walker in the middle, 70.4. Cooper, 69.3. McDuffie, 71.7. Really liked McDuffie last week. This has also been he hasn't played too much, but his best grade of his career, so far. Got a lot of football left to be played, but Isaiah McDuffie probably won't play much in this game. I expect the Packers to run more nickel because the Cowboys are a heavy passing team, whereas the Browns were like running heavy personnel with 12 and H-backs and whatnot and all that. So the Packers kind of had to run base more. I expect more nickel this week, so a lot less of Isaiah McDuffie. So let's actually move this to nickel. And you can see Javon Bullard has a very low grade, but he's been playing a lot better than this grade shows, in my opinion, especially in the run game, attacking screens, RPOs, defending against the run. Where he has struggled is in man-to-man coverage, on a pure passing play. Sure. But Bullard's recovering from this concussion, and hopefully he's going to be able to play. Jacob says, like Hobbs replacing Jair, did you see he was a healthy scratch pass? Yeah, dude. Time and time again, we just keep getting we keep getting proven that Gutekunst makes the right call with certain players. Like he really does. We saw it with Bakhtiari, Aaron Rodgers, Devontae, maybe not Devontae as much, but now Jair Alexander, like he's not even playing for the Ravens. That's crazy. I hope Jair can end up being healthy someday and return into playing high level of football, but the Packers made the right call. Like they made the right call. Moving on from Jair, bringing in Hobbs, and Hobbs has looked good so far. He has looked good. As for our defensive line, Micah Parsons is the 4th ranked edge out of 116, 90.1 grade. You can see pretty on par with his career. Love to see the blue. Tons of blue. Love to see it. 3rd highest pass rush grade. Run defense, still above average, 61.7. It's pretty on par with him. Everyone's saying he's a terrible run defender. Is not correct. Is he known for that? No, but he's not terrible. The Packers' run defense doesn't get worse with him on the field. That's for damn sure. On the other side, we have Rashawn Gary, who leads the league in sacks, but somehow has a 68.2. Somehow he's the 53rd ranked edge. I know it's not all about sacks. You got to defend the run, which is actually he's pretty decent at as well. You got to tackle well, of course, but he leads the league in sacks with 4.5. He's been benefiting greatly off of the addition of Micah Parsons and the uptick in production from Lucas Van Ness. On the inside, Devontae Wyatt, good start to 2025 so far. Weeks 1 and 2, he was on a tear. I'd like to see more, nice bounce back from him here in week 4. I think he had a, pretty low grade against the Browns, I'm pretty sure. But overall, good grade this year so far, 71.5. Carl Brooks, yeah, I'm sure it's because of the, he just has low grade overall, but, Carl Brooks is a good role player. He's a good defensive lineman to have. He doesn't really play too much nose tackle for us. He has a couple snaps there when we're running some unique fronts, but it's going to be Colby Wooden in this spot. Maybe a little Nazir Stackhouse, but we'll bring Brooks on to run some unique fronts, and he's a good, depth rotational defensive lineman that's versatile. You can move him all around the place, and he will make a play for you. Like, he will make a few plays for you. That's for sure. I really, really like Carl Brooks. You know how high we were on him coming into this league out of, not Bowling Green. Is it Bowling Green? Yeah, it is Bowling Green. That's where he came out of. 2023, 6th-round pick. I really like him in terms of like a change of pace defensive lineman on this team. Linebackers we went over, and then we have safeties. Evan Williams is a 17th ranked safety out of 73. He's been having a good season. And then McKinney has a sub 60 grade. Had his first interception last week. He doesn't really have to do much, but you also want to see him maybe make a couple more plays, maybe get involved a little bit more. But he's just kind of sitting back there doing his job, and the teams we've played really haven't aired the ball out. Like the Lions couldn't go vertical against us. The Commanders really didn't. The Browns definitely didn't. I think the Cowboys will try. So I think this is a set up for a good Xavier McKinney game. I think Xavier is going to have a really, really good game against Dak and company. I really think he will. All right. Let's flip this over. Read a couple comments first. King Hill says, Wooden has been good this season. Yeah, man. Taking over that nose tackle role, putting on the weight. He's looked really good. And, he's definitely a little bit, proven me wrong. I thought Wooden could be a cut candidate before training camp early in the offseason. Before he made that move to nose tackle, I thought he could be a cut candidate, trade candidate, and he has proven a lot of us wrong. So I'm all for that. Jacob says X doesn't care about PFF. He just cares about getting his job done. Yeah, no player here cares about PFF. And you don't have to either. I just like using the site because it's like, you get some advanced analytics. You can see like pressures and all that. And then also it's just clean to kind of go over the game looking at it like this. Marcellus says, with all the online injuries, how concerned should we be about the Cowboys pass rush? I mean, I'm not too concerned. Their pass rush is pretty inept. They don't get pressure. If the Packers could handle the Commanders with similar injuries, I don't have any worry of them holding the Dallas Cowboys in terms of, blocking. The offensive line probably got absolutely chewed out in film review this week, as they should, and I think they're going to be playing with a little bit of a mean streak going into this game. H2G Rudy, appreciate the donation, says, we'll be headed to Dallas this weekend with my new Parsons jersey. Let's go. Love the channel, by the way. Great analysis and insight. Go Pack, go. Well, I appreciate the donation, and yeah, rock that jersey proud. I'm sure you're going to get a lot of Dallas fans booing you because of the Parsons, but rock it loud and proud because the moment he makes a play, I just know he'll be in those stands blowing up, just screaming, which you should. You definitely should. So that'll be fun. That'll be fun. You get to go to that game. That's awesome. That is awesome. All right, let's start with the Cowboys defense. So I kind of wanted to look at Clark. He's had a good grade so far, 73.7. Still got the Packers jersey on in his picture. Run defense, 69.1. So actually a better grade than he had last year. Last year, pretty much a down year for him, but also had, I believe, what was that foot injury. In terms of his stats, he's had 4 solo tackles. He's had 9 pressures and a sack. So he's playing pretty well for them. Would we say that they won this trade? No, but they needed a nose tackle and they got one. I'm still surprised they didn't walk away with Lucas Van Ness over Kenny Clark. Like, to me, that seemed like, okay, that seems more of a fair trade. Like, Kenny Clark's about to hit 30 years old. Obviously, we're paying a lot of his bonus, his contract, so the Cowboys have him, for a decent amount of money. But I feel like Lucas Van Ness would have been the move for the Cowboys. 2 first-round picks, Lucas Van Ness for Parsons, and luckily we got to keep him. And Van Ness has been playing very, very well. I forget how to pronounce this. Osa Odezigu. I can't even do it. I tried. He's had a good grade this season. 14th out of 111, 16th out of 123. And 35th pass rush grade on the inside there. On the edges, they got Dante Fowler. He's a player that the Packers actually tried to bring in a couple times. They were interested in him this offseason, actually, and during the season. I think he was cut from a team last season, like during the season. I think the Packers were interested in bringing him in, obviously, like the route they went. Double O. That's So Turtles? Yep. Double O. There we go. That's who it is. It's Double O. Thank you. Fowler, kind of timeless. Like, this guy just goes on whatever team he gets signed to, and a lot of the time he does a good job. Like, I want to see what kind of pressures he has this year. He has, 5 pressures. Maybe he's not doing too great of a job. And 0 sacks. Okay. Maybe he's not doing too great this year. But he actually has his highest grade of his career so far through 3 games. So, The striker says, could you see this as another trap game? No, I really don't. Like, you guys know, in my game preview last week and talking on Roundtable, I said this could be against the Browns. I was like, this could be a game that is a lot closer than people think, and the Packers get out of there with a game-winning field goal and go, yeah, move on from it. That almost happened. It just went the other way, and we lost, but it was still, similar scenario. I don't see that here. I'm very confident in the Packers this week, just due to the matchup. I think they match up very, very well against this defense, and I think our defense matches up very, very well against their offense. I think the Packers have the edge on almost everything. Maybe Dak's been playing better than Love by a tiny bit, but that's an argument. Maybe the Cowboys have ran the ball better, but other than that, I'm very confident in the Packers and what they're, especially on offense, what they're going to be able to do against this defense. Their linebackers, you can see, very, very poor. Jack Sanborn, shout out Wisconsin. Didn't know he was on their team, if I'm being honest. 52.7 run defense grade, 43.8. We have Kenneth Murray, run defense grade 29.3, literally the worst run defense grade of all linebackers, all 75 graded linebackers in the NFL. Damone Clark, horrible coverage grade, defense grade really low. We should be able to dictate these linebackers, run the ball at them, run well, then use more play action. That's what I was saying last week, like play action, play action, play action. Come on. There's a misconception that you need to run the football well in order for play action to work. That is statistically not correct. You're playing into the makeup of what linebackers do when it's play action. Like, most of the time, linebackers are always going to commit if it's play action, regardless if you're running the ball well or not. You can dictate the linebackers, move the pocket if needed. That's what I wish they did last week. And get players open with a crosser over the linebackers, a slide, Tucker Kraft in the flat. We need to run more play action, if I'm being honest. That's what we ran. We ran a lot more play action year one of Jordan Love. Obviously, year two, you couldn't really do it too much because of the injuries to Love. We need to get back to running some more play action. Let me move it to nickel for them so we could see. Wow, dude, they are a very poorly graded defense. I didn't realize it's actually this low for some of these guys. Like Trayvon Diggs, good cornerback. Deron Bland, good cornerback. But damn, I did not know they were graded this low. That is crazy. And Bland's on the injury report, right? Yeah, but he'll play. Foot injury. And Diggs is too, and he'll play. But they're still on the injury report, so that's something to monitor. Diggs 50.8, Bland 52.9. Kyer Elam they got from the Buffalo Bills. He's been kind of a liability, 54.7. Yeah, Bland was a Parsons merchant. Yeah, I could agree with that. On the back end, they got Malik Hooker, different different one. I was about to say different hooker, but yeah, I mean, okay. 49.7 coverage grade, 54 out of 70 safeties. I think this is Donovan Wilson on the other side. 52.7, 55th out of 73 safeties. Coverage grade 52nd out of 70. There's nothing that really moves me on this Dallas defense. There's a reason that they're bottom of the league in pretty much every category. There's a reason. Now for the Packers line, or the Packers offense and their line. It doesn't look good. I'll tell you that. I mean, it looks terrible, and a lot of this is because of last week. Walker was a lot higher than this. Banks was slightly higher than that. Jenkins was higher than that. Ryan was higher than that. Belton was higher than that. So last week really tanked these grades, as it should. It's one of the worst offensive line performances I've ever seen as a Packers fan. And we've had some rough units before, but last week, honestly, as far as I can remember, probably the worst offensive, like watching the tape back, one of the worst offensive lineman performances I've seen in a while. And we'll be without Belton. So this should be Kennard on the right, and then we'll see if Banks is able to play. But if not, it'll be Morgan at left guard. But Jenkins, needs to step up. It feels like last week was the first time in his life he's seen a stunt, and they absolutely dominated us running stunts, and Jordan Love had a player in his face very quickly on multiple occasions. Sean Ryan, surprisingly, has been like the most consistent guy on this O-line. Obviously, Zach Tom's been hurt, but Sean Ryan kind of been the most consistent guy, which is, if you told me that through 3 weeks he would be, I would say you're crazy, but he kind of has been. Walker on the left side, I mean, last week got beat a bunch. You're gonna against Myles Garrett. That mic'd up with Myles Garrett, you could hear Rasheed Walker going, "Run, Jordan!" Like, that's crazy. Like, Jordan, run! Like, that is wild. I mean, you're not going to stop Garrett, but the Packers, they played way too scared of Myles Garrett last week, and you could tell Walker didn't have this whole offensive line didn't have a good game. They got to have a good bounce back, and they should against this front. They really, really should. Tucker Kraft, surprised he played last week. Seemed like he was, hindered a little bit from that knee injury. Hopefully, he's more closer to 100% for this game. Need to use more Tucker Kraft in the passing game over the linebackers like we saw in week 2. At receiver, we have Dobbs and Golden on the outside, Wicks in the slot. The Packers probably going to be running some 12 personnel in this game, and it'll be Dobbs and Golden. We'll see some Wicks. We'll see some Heath, maybe even some Melton. But Wicks has been the 8th graded receiver out of 106 with 75.6. Dobbs, 62.2. And Golden, 59.1. Need more from Matthew Golden. Obviously, the Packers starting to really feed him the ball more. It's going to get, it's going to hit one of these weeks. It's coming up. It could be this one. His return to Texas, where we see like a Matthew Golden 120-yard game, and 60 of those are on one play. Like, it's coming. It definitely is coming. He's getting higher snap shares, more routes ran in games. It goes up every single week. His time definitely is coming. We talked about Love, and then Jacobs. He also needs to get it going as well, but the offensive line, it starts with them. Jacobs, I believe, outside of like Ashton Genty, has the most yards after contact, or like he's contacted very quickly, and most, if not all, of his yards are like after contact because the Packers run blocking line has not been good. So that's the Packers offense. That's the Cowboys defense. Go back to summary real quick, just kind of have this page up, and that's essentially the game preview. I'm very confident in the Green Bay Packers this game. If for some reason this offense struggles, I'm not going to lie, I'm going to be concerned. I'm going to be concerned, and it's like, what in the world is going on? Because there's no reason you shouldn't have success against this defense. Matt LaFleur does a good job against the Cowboys every time. The Packers as a whole do a great job against the Cowboys every time. History, I think it's 10 out of the last 11 games, including playoffs, the Packers have won. They're 5-0 in AT&T Stadium, including the Super Bowl. Like, the Packers do really, really well at AT&T. So I have full utmost confidence in the Green Bay Packers. I see a 2-score win by this Packers team, 34, 35 points on offense, maybe 21, 24 allowed, maybe not even that much. We'll see. Dak's still going to play some good football. They're still going to move the football. But our defense, I have full belief in as well. And obviously, through 3 weeks, it's been one of the best defenses in the NFL. And they got to have a good show in here, getting pressure on Dak, hopefully stopping the run. Them not having CeeDee Lamb is obviously huge. That would be someone that you got to have an eye on every single play because they'll be looking to go his way, but they will be without CeeDee Lamb. Our offensive line, shaken up, yes, but they'll be able to handle it, and hopefully they have a nice bounce back game here after a terrible performance there in week 3. But I really appreciate you guys coming by. Again, if you stop by for the first time and have yet to hit subscribe and want to stay in the loop with everything Green Bay Packers, I would highly suggest going down and hitting the subscribe button. We do game previews every Friday, film reviews every Tuesday. We're live most games. I'll be live Sunday night here for a watch party, so if you guys want to come on by and hang out for the Packers Sunday night game against the Cowboys, I'll be here live. Injury report out in 3 hours. Be on the lookout for that. It'll be a full form video going over everything, breaking it all down. So yeah, guys, really appreciate you coming by. I'll catch you on the next one. And as always, go Pack Go.